Oh, and welcome to another Tech Articles. One of the common questions I get asked is about custom integrations and A, whether I can help with them, and B, um, do I know anybody? If I can't, do I know anybody that can? Um, I do a few of these. Most of them are highly customized, so they are coded with usernames or keys or other items, which just means I can't really share them with you. Um, but I had a request earlier this week for a custom integration with WPCourseware. And actually, given the scope of what that was and the fact that it needed to be open, they were using it on more than one website, so it couldn't be hard coded, has actually allowed me to A, show you it, and B, also release it for you. So, WPCourseware, for those of you who aren't aware, is a LMS platform. I believe at some point in the past they have had an AppSumo deal, and I think there's quite a few lifetime licenses around, and it's quite popular. And it's a WordPress plugin that allows you to run courses, and it's relatively advanced. It has WooCommerce for sales, etc., and it has membership links with membership plugins. It's got quite a lot of integrations already, but there is no there currently is no native integration with FlowMattic, which is the automator this person used and the automator I tend to use. And in addition to that, there's no direct shortcut link, and that is what they wanted to do. And I'm not going to cover the shortcut link here. That's a relatively straightforward part in terms of passing the details that we need here to shortcut from shortcut. But I have written a small plugin to make available to a user two functions to add or enroll and remove a user from a course. And in this case, it was tied in with a integration with Surecart and the two products that they were selling, which were two courses. And in other ways, it could be with anything, because ultimately, as long as it's triggered and we can get the email, I think is probably the only item that we need from the ID. Although in the case of the Surecart transaction, we actually added a custom field for course ID. And that's basically how the basics of it work, and it is a simple free to download plugin that I have just released, and you just need to go to Really Useful Plugins, sign up for a free account, and I will put a link in the description below, and you download this plugin here, which is automation for WPCourseware. And currently it only enrolls and removes a student from a course. I have emailed the creator FlyPlugins to ask if some of the actions from, or some of the actions, or some of the triggers from some other automations are available based on action hooks, and if they are, what are those action hooks, so I can look to integrate them. Now, currently, it is designed to be a on-site plugin, i.e., it should be installed on the site where you have WPCourseware installed. So in the site here, we have WPCourseware installed, and if we go to plugins, we also have the automation plugin here. So what we need to do now is look over to FlowMattic, and we will just check our courses first. And I have a test dummy course here called our Awesome Test Course, and you'll see here that the shortcode ID for it is 2. Now, I won't bore you with the details, but this isn't the post ID for this course. The way this plugin works is it translates this to the post ID, because it's the easiest way of getting that ID rather than having to work out what the post ID is by opening the course up and then finding out that it's 22. So it translates the 2 here to the 22 here of its own accord, how it's set up to make it more user friendly. So number 2 is our course, and if we go down to students, you'll see here that we have nobody enrolled. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to users, and I'm going to delete this user here, like so, and that user is now gone. And we're going to go to FlowMattic, and we are going to open a workflow I've already created. Now, in this case, it's just a workflow triggered by a webhook, and I've called two PHP functions, one to enroll and one to remove. And the reason for that is because I want to showcase how to do it, but equally, I'm not building a full workflow around this, so this is the easiest way of doing it. So the first thing we're going to do is enroll a user in that course. And we do that using the PHP function, and this function here, along with the other one we will use to remove, are included in the plugins, in the automation plugin, and we are allowed to call those and use those. So we are calling a PHP function called create or enroll user in a course by course ID. We are sending individual variables of email and course ID. And in this case, we're going to use hello@techarticles.co.uk and a course ID of 2. Now, the course ID of 2 comes from our course ID. So if we go back here and to our courses, we are quoting the number that is here, 2. And the email address is the email of the user. Now, the way this flow would work is it almost certainly the email address of the user would come from your payment or lead capture program, i.e. let's say you this is a free to enroll course and you're enrolling people who give you their name and email via Sureforms. You would have a Sureforms trigger that would give you that email, and then you could put it in as a variable against this course. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to enroll tech articles on this course, and noticed earlier I deleted that user, so there's no user for that, but that's not to worry, because what this will do is it will look up the email address. If there is no current user using that email address, it will create a new one, and the course ID, as we said, is 2. So we're going to go to continue, and we're going to test this action. And you'll see here that the user ID of 3 has been created, and they've been signed on to post ID 22, and then it's some details about the course. So that appears to have worked. So if we go to students, now before it was empty, and if we refresh this, we now have hello@techarticles all enrolled on our awesome test course with no issues whatsoever. It was done automatically using FlowMattic. But let's say that it was a 12-week access and we've put a delay in place and we want to remove them, or it's a 12-month subscription and they haven't resubscribed. I'm not going to cover how you get that details from your subscription plugin or your cart or anything, but in that case we need the same details again. We need the course ID and the email address. And I've set that up in a workflow just below it in a separate PHP function here. And in this case, we are calling remove users from course by course ID. Again, it's individual variables. And again, it's email and course ID. Now, in this case, it will not delete the user, because in most cases you want to keep users because they might have other purchases. They might need to be able to log in and see. There might be reasons you want to keep that user, but we don't want them to have access to that course anymore, and that's the important part here. So we're going to remove user from course by course ID, and we're going to remove hello@techarticles. Now, if we refresh our student page, we are still enrolled and ready to go. But if we were to test this function, you'll see that there was success is returned, user ID has been removed, and if we go to students, you'll see we're no longer enrolled. But if we go to users, we still exist as a user. So that's how this plugin works. Currently, as I say, it's a plugin to be installed on the site that it is to be used upon. I may, at some point in the future, when time allows, convert this to a REST API, which would then allow you to install this and your courseware on a separate site to FlowMattic. Again, it's one of the strengths of FlowMattic that you don't need to be necessarily accessing these things via PHP. It has an inbuilt API module, and we could use REST API to do that for us. And I may well add that as functionality in the plugin later. The plugin comes with automatic updates anyway, so you don't have to worry too much about that. And there is a published changelog. I will add a changelog to the site and include a link to that in the video below as well. But yeah, for now, this is a simple way to add a stroke enroll a user to a course and remove a user from a course. There are documents on our documentation site, so if you were to come to docs.reallyusefulplugins.com and scroll down to automation for WPCourseware, there are 2 articles about enrolling and removing a user from your course. Once I get a response from FlyPlugins about the other triggers, I will then look to see whether I can integrate those into the plugin as well. So we can utilize those via the do action function or the action function within FlowMattic. So yeah, that's just a brief introduction to this plugin. It's freely available. As I say, a link will be in the description below. And again, it shows you the power of FlowMattic and WordPress automation, that you can expand the usage of a plugin with code or snippets or plugins, and it is quite simple to do. And if an integration doesn't exist, you can probably create one for the plugin you want to do, as long as you understand the code. And the better the docs are from the developer, the better. In this case, the docs were quite limiting, but there has been other automation plugins that have added this support. So having studied their code, I was able to backwards engineer how this worked. So yeah, hopefully that's been useful for you, and please do like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much.